Do you feel that the matchmaking is working against you? Do you feel frustrated that no matter what you do, you don't seem to have any impact on the outcome of the battle majority of the time, no matter how much damage you do? Since the start of the current season, Gods of Thunder, well then this is the video for you, as Wargaming updated the matchmaking to look at the win rate of the players in the tank, or the overall win rate if you don't have enough battles in the tank, to evenly distribute the players so the games are not lopsided. For example, if there are 4 players, 2 with 60%, 2 with 40%, the goal is that one team doesn't get the 260% and the other one doesn't get the 240%, and both should have 60 and 40. In ideal scenario, if we have that even distribution, and which in turn would make the game more balanced, and that's valid. We all want the matchmaking to improve. We want the matchmaking to be balanced so you can enjoy the long games, but at the same time make an impact the outcome of the battle. For one, I don't like YOLO battles, but the way they have implemented it is different, and actually have done it the way where if you are a good player or you experience a high win rate player, the matchmaking is going to work against you. But if you're a bad player, you probably gonna have more chances of winning. But if you're at 50%, you won't see much difference. So the further away you are from the 50% average, the more drastic you would feel the change. You would feel that you are losing more even when actively trying. Unless of course you are playing in platoon in the OP meta tanks. So let's look at the matchmaking rules, which was described by Mr. SPG, the one who was involved in updating the matchmaker. This information is public and is available on World of Tanks Modern Armor main Discord server. So let's see what he wrote, right? The World War II pair matchmaker introduced in 2012. Teams are made strictly by class and tier. Yeah, initially it was class-based matchmaking, and it was a good so that both teams have an even amount of classes and tier. So, 10 heavies for 10 heavies for tier 10s and so on. And then they started adding battle count. So basically they started giving you rating, so that if you have between A and B battles, you get N points, and then if you have between C and D battles, you get M points. So that they started balancing based on the battle count. But to be honest, battle count is essentially useless. At least it didn't impact me, because you had bad players with more battles and better player with less battles. As I had seen 50,000 plus battles, and they're still unaware how to play the game, and people with 5k are really better or good at the game. So that didn't really much had an impact, and it's kind of a useless metric. Then there were some issues that the corner case of enemy team is composed of average standard player, while my team has a couple of veterans, bunch of new, and then they updated that. And this is the issue. The fourth paragraph is what happened now. The issue of my team consists of mostly veterans, but they're 45% win rate players, right? Because of course veterans in terms of battle count doesn't mean anything. Other team has the same amount of veterans and their 75% win rate player is brought up. We changed the system to use the vehicle battle count and the vehicle win rate, and account win rate if it's not available. So now the team can be assigned a 65% win rate new player to offset the 65% win rate player the other team get, and 45% win rate veteran is not worth as many points. So basically they gave you points based on your battle count as well as your win percentage. So for me, I have 117k battles, which is a lot of battles. Then I have in tier 10s around 70% win rate, which again is a higher win rate. Some of them solo, some of them platoon, but like never really tried for that win rate, gradually just improved, right? But that's my rating, that's what it's based on. Of course it's per tank, some have 65, some have 60, sorry 75, so it's between all those, right? So basically whenever I play I get a very high rating, and there seems to be something off, but let's keep reading it and I'll show you my stats as well after. If I read the above correctly, the main issue seems to be 65% player in the off meta tank is being compared to 65% player in the meta tank. Yeah, so for example, if I am in a 65% playing a T22 medium with someone playing a 65% Murad, I'm never going to win against that tank. It's already imbalanced. I can't win against even a 55% Murad player if I'm in a 65% T22 medium, or maybe not 55, 58%, because Murad is such a better tank, and there are off meta tanks that are terrible. 430U terrible, Yura is terrible. There's so many of those tanks, and I can't make an impact. And this matchmaking currently doesn't handle it. That's fine. That's one thing. I get it. You can't handle it. I should add that the whole team. So this is the other argument I raised, because they assigned a rating to me, and then they start balancing, and then putting me into a team, right? And then they start balancing the team to even out that rating, which is in the next message we'll see. So that's what the question I raised. I'm like, what if I have a 70%, then am I going to force to get a 445% player if the enemy has 550%, 50% win rate players, right? Because it's I understand they get one better player to compensate for me for my win rate or anyone who's more experienced, but I'm forced with more worse players to offset that, and I can't win, or no one can win against. So if you're 70%, you can't win against 255% players because they won't drive in the open. They're going to hold angle. They're going to be held down. You can't win. And to compensate for my rating, right? And I don't know the exact rating they assign and how they balance this out. But one thing is certain, more than one player with the worse than the other team, right? Whenever the next player comes in, is assigned to my team to compensate for me so that our team's balances out. So it's not like I'm better for my team in the first pair, right? Then the second pair, the better player get assigned to the second team. They assign multiple better players to the other team. Of course, the queue is based on first in, first out. So the worst is when I'm the first player in the match. But to be honest, it's even worse as long as I'm the 10th player queued in the team. And we'll explain that as well as we go forward. So the thing is, I am being forced, or if you're better, if you're higher win rate, you're being forced, first of all, win rate in the tank, by adding worse player in your team so they can balance out the delta. And even if the rest of the players are even, that doesn't matter. So your team, let's say my team has a 70%, that's me, and then I have 45%, 4 players, and they have 50%, and the next 10, right? Next 10, they're all 50%. It doesn't matter. All the other players are even, our team gonna lose because we have 45%. I cannot, or no one can win against, like, because those 445, they're gonna die immediately. There's a deficit. What's going to happen after that? My team will slowly and gradually lose, and that's what's been happening. But let's keep reading. The World War II pairs matchmaking is a deterministic one, given the same set of input, and it will always generate the same output. The thing that will be determined is the order of operation is actually the length of the queue. The matchmake operates first in, first out, because if one of the core principles to minimizing the time in the queue, which is great, right? So whenever the matchmaking starts, it starts grabbing players. So the initial selection of the player is not, it doesn't look at anything, right? It does look at the class-based matchmaking. It's like, I need these many heavies, these many mediums, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't look at your win rate, right? Which is fine. But if I'm the first one to get selected, I'm going to offset that rating of my team hugely, even if I'm the 5th one, even if the 10th one, because it's going to take like maybe 3 to 5 players to match me depending on who is playing. Because on average, the win rate, I would say, is around 48 to 52, right? This is not my guess, but like this is the information I think I've read over time, so it might be slightly wrong. But that's the average. So I don't know how many tanks they're assigning to compensate for me. But it shouldn't be more than 1 tank. If I get a 70% and a 45%, right? So I go to, for the next one, they can give them a 55% one, sure, like 60% one. Do not give them 5 better players for the 4 worst player, or 4 better for the 4 worst for the next 4 players. That just makes things super terrible for me and for anyone who has higher win rate. So let's keep reading. So how 175% force, 45% and 550 together as a team, assuming they're all the same class, and here depends entirely on the queuing order. And as I said, right, maybe I'm the last one, it doesn't matter, right? But let's just average it out. Even if I'm the 10th player to queue in, the next 4 will still be worse for me. And again, as I'm stressing, I don't know the entire rating, how they're determining, but the better you are, the following players that get added to your team after you're added to the matchmaking are going to be worse. And as I said, unless I'm the last one to get added, there's always going to be a huge impact. Even second last, I guess I'm fine. Even third last, maybe. But anything, like, if I get added before 12th or before, it's going to be impossible for me to win, assuming everything else is balanced, right? And again, there are a lot of other factors. There could be other, good players. Sometimes what happens is you'd find a similar 70% win rate in the enemy team and it's balanced, and that happens as well, right? It's more balanced and stuff. But most of the time, with the outliner, they have a tough time balancing, and that is going to happen, and that's what's been happening. And we'll provide the data as well. So let's move on to the next picture or image here. The pre-9-point system would balance teams by battle count, so the scenario that you mentioned could easily happen. So yeah, in that case, you could have a team with 115k on team A, then 1k on the other one, 5k on the first team again, 1k on the second, but and so on, right? So you could still have more battle count on the team one, but the thing was, battle count is a useless metrics. It doesn't matter. As I said, they have seen worse players with higher battle count than the better players with low, right? So it didn't really make much difference. And this is the important part. I don't remember what numbers are for newbie, average tenure were. Okay, doesn't make a difference. A pair is made, let's say 115k plus 70% win rate as tank 1. So I am a tank 1. And on the other team, they put a 1k battle guy with a 45% win rate as tank 2. Now this is an extreme example, right? But a version of it still happens. Lookup tables are used to determine a point system for each tank. Let's say tank 1 is worth 30 points, so I'm worth 30 points, and tank 2 is worth 5 points. Those aren't the right numbers, I just made it up, which makes sense, right? They don't want to reveal the exact information. They're just example. So the delta between them is calculated. In this case, it's 25. Yeah, that's the difference, right? The matchmaker looks at the delta between the currently assigned team 1 and 2. The team which gets tank 1 is the one that would reduce the overall delta between team 1 and 2 towards 0. So if the current teams are 45%, so current teams are 45% versus 40%, then the team 1 gets a tank 1 and the team 2 gets a tank 2. So the lower win rate tank goes to my team. So next pair is considered, say that it's a tank 1 is 10 points, tank 2 is 5 points. Now the current teams are, so this is the current teams, that what looked like, right? So it was the 70% was me, and then I got a 25%, and in the opponent they got a 45% and a 50%. So I already got one worse player than their better player. And I think they should stop there. The comparison should stop there because they got the better player. But in this case, so the tank 1 which goes to team 2, and the composition become 45, 70, 45, and they get 50, 45, 50, and so on. So until that delta become close to 0, team 1 will keep getting worse players. So as you can already see, me 70%, I would have 245%, and they already got 250%. And as I said, a 70% player cannot win against 255% player because 55% players are still good enough. They don't drive out in the open. They hold ankles. They try to do their best. They just have a limited map understanding or rotation, but they know how to hold effectively. And the most difficult thing is to dig out people that are hulled down unless you are in one of those tanks that can do it effectively. Usually you delete people when they're kind of moving or out of position. And that's what I said. Your impact is limited because it doesn't matter. They have the better team. It would have been one thing. So for example, in the first case, we got a 70, and they got a 45, right? So for the next pair, it would have made sense that's according to me, right? They got a better player for the second pairing, so that, and after that, it should stop. It should stop because if a player is better, they should be able to make the impact on the outcome of the battle. Now they just made it. The way they're calculating it, at least, and based on my experience, I am more likely to lose when I'm playing solo in a regular tank or even in meta tanks if I'm playing by myself, because I am being compensated with the worse players than the opponent team. Not every player, but as I said, even if I'm queued in at 10, the next 4 players are going to be bad. So if you're anyone close to 65 or 70% in that tank, you are going to suffer. And of course, to make it even worse, if I'm in an off meta tank, well, good luck. I can't even do anything. If I am in, let's say, which tank would I, because if opponent is at E5 and I'm in Rhino, yep, great. I'm not going to win anything. So that issue they've already addressed, right? And now we'll look at the stats that I had since the matchmaking was updated and before. So this is 28th and previous days. Some of them I played solo, some in platoon, and didn't really try to win. And you can see my worst win rate is around 60, and I got to, in some of them I even touched 80, but you can see 75 and 70 a lot of the time. So I think it averaged out to close to 70. And that's me not only playing meta tanks, right? I'm playing all type of tanks, and I'm not really trying either, because that was not the case, right? I didn't really care much about winning because they would automatically come. And even when I'm just relaxing, just doing, casually playing, I was still going to win, because with experience or with time, I gained experience, I gained understanding, and I'm supposed to make an impact And that's why I was able to determine 20% of the battles, or the outcome of the battles. I could sway them in my favor. Some of the games we would have won anyway. But that's how you improve your win rate, is because the more knowledge you have, the more understanding you have, you can deviate the games towards victory. And what happened since the change? It was from 29th, the day when I was playing solo, because I was trying the new tanks. And whenever you are playing a new tank, and that's another issue, it looks at your overall win rate. And I'm playing a terrible tank like Tiger Mouse, and it's looking at my overall win rate, which is like close to 65, and it's basically giving me a high rating as if I'm playing a Rogue Dorn, and obviously I'm gonna do worse. So, and that was the issue with the off-meta tanks, right, or the newer tanks in general. So 48% or 49% win rate on that day, that's the lowest I've had for a long time, for a decent amount of battle count. Then the next day I played some in platoon, some in by myself, so 61, 60, 65, 50, 61, and then on August 4, it's 42. And that's, I think, the day where I was just playing solo most of the time. And also some people were complaining, especially those that play by themselves, that why do they have to struggle so much, right? And so far I've been just enjoying the long games. And that's the thing, right? We all love long games. But there's a bigger issue that's happening here, as we're going to discuss in more detail. Then I played in platoon, I think on this day 75, played solo against 44, played solo against 48, 55 mostly solo with some platoon 50, and I managed to get 55. Then on Saturday I played with Randy and Swindle, and we managed to hit 80, and I was playing meta tank in a 3-man platoon. Similarly, the day after 76 I was in mostly 3 and then some 2-man platoon. I wasn't by myself. And then this is today I played by myself in 57, and this is like a higher win rate. So you can see the difference. Whenever I play solo, I have no impact on the outcome of the battle. But you might say, I'm enjoying the new matchmaking because the games are longer. I don't see or notice any difference between my ability to decide the outcome of the battle. And as mentioned earlier, if you're close to 50, if you're on 48 to 52, you wouldn't notice much difference. If that's where majority of the players are, and if you have no outliers in the game is going to be balanced. And since you have that amount of percentage of win rate, your win rate is going to stay the same. I don't think it's going to go up and down, but the longer game will result in more enjoyable experience. Now, if you are a worse player, let's say you're 45, the game is going to be better for you, because now you're going to have someone who is good, right? Especially if you have an outliner in your team that is carrying you or compensating for you, because if you get added to the team, they have to add multiple good players to compensate for your team. So someone, for example, who just bought a season pass, got a tier 10 bang, they have terrible win rate, they have played some new battles, right, and they don't have that many battles, they get the lower rating, and to compensate for it, their team's going to get stacked with better players. So let's say they're 45, they'll get stacked with 55% player, and then that's the lobby, entire lobby, their team, other team is 50%. So now you have one bad player, even if he dies, doesn't matter, but they have 55% player while everyone else is a 50. So they are at an advantage, right? This is just a specific example, but this will result in better experience for newer or unexperienced players or worse players, because their team is getting benefited. And now if you're someone who has 60% plus win rate, you will get stacked with worse player on your team, and not one worse player to compensate for you. It's got to be multiple, and that's my main concern. They're assigning us a tank rating, and then to even out the rating, it will add X amount of bad tanks to my team. What they should do, which I believe, is they need to add, if I get added to a team, or one better player get added to a team, for the next one, for the next pairing, they should add the better player to the other team, and that it should reset. The delta shouldn't be n points. Delta should always be 1, so it could be evened out in the very next pairing, and then they can start again. It shouldn't force next 3, 4, 5 players to even out the delta, because the outliner will suffer, and it's happening more and more, unless, as I said, I'm the last one or the second last one to get added. What they are doing is trying to even out the team skill rating. Yeah, sure, you can say it's not skill-based matchmaking because it's not pulling out specific the teammates to match your win rate, but what it's doing is, whenever adding a new player, it's looking at the team rating and keep dumping players or the good players in the team that is weak to match your rating. And as I said, in a real world, A 60% percent player cannot win against 255%. Even a 65% cannot win against 255% because they don't drive out in the open. They have an understanding to how to hold, and digging out a holding tank is very, very difficult, especially when you're in a meta tank. So even if you're in a good tank, it's still hard. It's 2 versus 1, 2 guns versus 1 gun, 2 angles versus 1 angle. You look right, bam, you get shot from the left. So I don't need multiple players to offset me. I just need one. That's how it should be. Yeah, sometimes they'll have even matchmaking when I get added towards the last. There will even be balanced matchmaking, and I would still win here and there, right? I mean, I have 48% win rate in some days, or close to 50, so maybe there's some impact that I can influence the battle, but it's not that much. And actually, this game going is one of the examples, and it happened many times. And this is the one from Friday where I was doing terrible in Grill. And that's the reason I don't like it. You can say it's not skill-based, right? But what it is doing is skill-based team making. Because every time a new player gets added, it doesn't get randomly placed, which is fine, right? But why am I getting punished for playing X amount of battles, playing 100,000 plus battles? Why am I being punished for having a 65% win rate? Yeah, give me one bad player. Why do I need 3? What did I do wrong? Should I not play the game? If I learned something, I mean, I know it's a game and we play for fun. Why do I have to play it all seriousness all the time? And if I get better, if I have advantage over other player, why should I suffer? What did I do wrong? Just spend time on the game? What should I do? Create a new account where I have no battles or less battles? You know, give myself ultimate season pass from my main account so I don't get punished for my win rate and just play terrible? This is not fair. If you are a solo player that just plays casually and still do better, this is not fun. And there are multiple people that said it, and I agree with them. Initially, I thought the matchmaker is just distributing them evenly, just offsetting one good player by another good player, not compensating for multiple. But the more I played, I could see something is wrong. Even the harder I try, it doesn't matter. They just seem to play together as a team. Their team feels like a 15-man platoon or a 10-man platoon, while my team seems lost. And winning by itself is not important, but it's going to obviously have a benefit where the marks will drop, first of all. The problem is whenever they're off based on XP, for example, I'm grinding tanks. Well, they have probably different rating for stock and fully upgraded or lower tiers. But if I'm doing contract where I need XP, now it's going to take me longer to get those contracts done. Or anyone who knows what they're doing, it's going to take them longer because they're going to win less. So you are forced to play in a platoon if you want to win. And you should play meta tanks. And the way you can somewhat improve is you have to be aggressive, win one side quickly, because whichever side you are, if you're holding it, it doesn't matter, the other side is going to collapse. So you have to go one side, win that side quickly, and then be aggressive going back to save your teammates. Because if you're just holding, even though they're not winning this side, and that's what I was doing in this game, right? I was holding and they're not winning this side, the other side will lose, and then you lose it every time. So it doesn't even matter what tank I'm in. If I'm in a medium and I can't be aggressive, our team's gonna lose. I need to be in a tank that can brawl, right? Or either they have like super good or broken tank. And Grill is one of the broken tanks. It is one of the horsepower tanks that I still struggle to win in this tank. So you have to be in a platoon, because platoon gives you the focus fire advantage. You can delete enemies quickly, you have more angles, and you have the power of coordination, and that's the reason you do better in platoon. That's the reason I won in platoon, because even if the players have better win rate or more players in their team have better win rate, they didn't have the focus as they're not in platoon, because platoons are matched differently. They're just matched by platoon size, I think. I don't think, like, similarly, they apply the rules to match the delta, but they don't find equally good platoons. I think platoons have a different rule. And as I said, I have the power, we have the power of focus, so I can be aggressive and I can win that one side and then go back, win the other side. But if you're playing by yourself, your experience on day 1, or let's say day 10, isn't going to be much different from day 90, because you're not going to have much impact on the outcome of the battle. And I just feel it's wrong. The matchmaker, or when Bam was explaining the matchmaker, he said it's not skill based because we take, or the matchmaker doesn't look at the win rate while getting the first 30 players, which I understand it doesn't, but our team doesn't have respawns. And whenever it's placing the players, those random players, they are getting placed looking at your team delta, which is essentially battle count and win rate and something else. And battle count is useless, and it's looking at your win rate then. So every time they're placed, they are looking at your win rate. They're balancing on your win rate. So, as I said, it's one thing to distribute one good player on per pair, but because they're distributing multiple players to offset the outliner players, it's creating an uneven and unfair matchmaking for those. And it is not direct SBMM, but it is a version of it. So I think it's unfair to call that this is not a SBMM, right? It is a form of it, because you're balancing out the delta, which is mainly the win rate. And as I always say, why shouldn't a player that is more experienced, who's played more and is winning more for years, not have the luxury to make more of an impact, right? And there would be games, right? For example, when I'm being paired, I'm 75, they're 75, and we both cancel out each other, delta is unchanged, and everything else is balanced, right? Those games happen. Yeah, there's still a game that are balanced. Those happens. But the outliners, they suffer. And I had the discussion with Randy as well, and he's facing the same issue, and a lot of other players as well. Yeah, we like the long games. That is true. Everyone loves the longer games. But it shouldn't come at an expense of me being forced to play with multiple bad players. It should be one, right? Pairing 1, I'm better, right? Or you get assigned to team A. Pairing 2, better player goes to team B. Pairing 3, better player goes to team A again. Pairing 4, better player goes to team 4, and so on. It'll still be an even distribution, and player would still be able to sway the battle in their favor based on how they play, right? How their experience. It is unfair to take that away from them. And of course I'm impacted, that's why I'm making a video. If you are as well, you notice the difference, you feel frustrated, do let me know in comments. If you like the matchmaking, do let me know in comments. But I think this matchmaking has to be updated, because this isn't fun if I'm not playing in Platoon, and if I'm playing in Platoon and meta tank, it's gonna just ruin the other players as well. Like, if that's all I'm playing, I can still get that 80% win rate, but it's gonna ruin their game. So do let me know in comments. And as I said, I usually don't say it, but this video is a little bit more important than your regular videos, so make sure to like and comment and share among your friends as well. So hopefully the matchmaking can be improved, because everyone loves a nice matchmaking. That's it for this video. Catch you on the next one.